Some movies become famous and then slowly fade from memory. Others only become more legendary as the years go by. Grease, 1978, is one of those films. With just a single song or the sight of that iconic leather jacket, millions of people around the world can instantly remember Danny, Sandy, and those dreamy final days of high school. But the most fascinating stories were never on the screen. Behind the film's enormous success were countless mishaps, risky decisions, and behind-the-scenes secrets that remained hidden for decades. From the casting process and filming challenges that gave the crew endless headaches to the tiny details that even longtime fans may have missed, there's far more to Grease than meets the eye. In today's video, we're uncovering 12 weird facts about Grease that might just make you want to watch this timeless classic all over again. If you love the classic movies that shaped your childhood, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and join us as we take a trip back in time. Number 12. The biggest stars all turned it down. Sandy Olsen seems so perfectly cast that most people assume it was destiny. But the truth is, Grease nearly had a completely different Sandy, and with her, a completely different movie. Before Olivia Newton-John accepted the role, the producers pursued nearly every famous it girl of the late 1970s, and each of them could have taken the film in a completely different direction. Marie Osmond was one of the strongest contenders. By the late 1970s, she had become America's beloved girl next door, making her seem like the perfect choice to play Sandy. However, Marie turned the role down. What she disagreed with was the film's ending. In her view, Sandy changing her appearance and lifestyle to win Danny's love sent the wrong message to young audiences. She believed that in a relationship, the boy should be the one willing to change for the girl he loves. Her decision forced the producers to continue searching for another actress. Another surprising name that was seriously considered was Carrie Fisher. Director Randall Kleiser was close friends with George Lucas, so he took the opportunity to watch some of the earliest footage from Star Wars to see whether Carrie would be right for the role of Sandy. But at the time, all he could really see was Princess Leia's iconic cinnamon bun hairstyle, making it difficult for him to imagine her starring in a high school musical. In the end, the opportunity went to Olivia Newton-John. However, even after she signed the contract, one major obstacle remained. Her Australian accent was far too obvious for her to convincingly play an American high school student. Instead of replacing the actress, the filmmakers simply rewrote the script, turning Sandy into a transfer student from Australia. Just like that, the problem was solved. John Travolta strongly supported casting Olivia, calling her every guy's dream girl, and from that moment on, a piece of movie history was officially made. Number 11. No solo song, no Olivia. Olivia Newton-John would not agree to star in Grease unless a few conditions were met. One of them was that she had to have a solo song. As one of the biggest recording artists of the time, she wanted her character to have a song of her own that would showcase her singing ability. It was one of the key conditions before she officially signed on to the film. The problem was that the original stage musical did not include a solo song for Sandy. That forced the filmmakers to come up with a solution even after production was already underway. The task fell to John Farrar, Olivia's longtime music producer and collaborator. After several weeks of work, he wrote "Hopelessly Devoted to You," an emotional ballad that blended the romance of the 1950s with the modern pop sound of the late 1970s. The moment everyone heard it, they realized it was exactly the inner voice Sandy had been missing. Ironically, by the time the song was finished, principal photography had already wrapped. Most of the cast had left to work on other projects, so Olivia had to return to the set almost entirely on her own to film the scene. That is why the garden sequence features only Sandy. The hair and makeup department had to recreate her hairstyle, costume, and overall look, although sharp-eyed viewers can still spot a few small differences. The results exceeded every expectation. Hopelessly Devoted to You not only became the most emotional moment in the film, but also earned Grease its only Academy Award nomination for Best Original Song. The song quickly became an international hit and helped establish Olivia Newton-John as one of Hollywood's most versatile stars. Since then, the song has become so essential that many modern stage productions of Grease have added it, even though it was never part of the original musical. Just imagine Greece without hopelessly devoted to you. It would be like eating a hamburger without French fries. That contract requirement gave Sandy her defining moment to shine, and it also gave all of us one of the greatest karaoke classics of all time. Number 10. The river no one should have stepped into. That race scene looked spectacular. 2 cars speeding through a concrete river channel, Danny behind the wheel, everyone cheering as if they were watching the greatest thing ever put on film. But what you did not see was the biological hazard behind it all. The sequence was filmed in the Los Angeles River, which is actually part of the city's flood control system, not a specially built movie set. Under the scorching California sun, the small amount of water left in the channel had been sitting almost motionless for weeks, creating anything but a clean environment. During the 3 consecutive days of filming, every time the cars accelerated, dirty water sprayed across the set, covering the actors, the cameras, and nearby crew members. At first, everyone treated it as just another part of the job, until several people began feeling exhausted and coming down with illnesses. Director Randall Kleiser was no exception. Because of the intense heat, he often worked barefoot while directing on set and accidentally cut the bottom of his foot. Just 1 day later, he developed a high fever, but he kept working because the shooting schedule could not be changed. Several scenes were completed while he was pushing through near total exhaustion. The most alarming story, however, belonged to Annette Charles, who played Cha-Cha. On the day they filmed the opening of the race sequence, she was already suffering from severe pain, yet she left the hospital to make it to the set on time. Between takes, she had to lean against a car because she was too weak to stand for long. As soon as filming was finished, Annette went straight back to the hospital. Doctors quickly discovered that she was experiencing an ectopic pregnancy and rushed her into emergency surgery that very night. At the time, Charles had no idea what was happening to her body. The only thing she knew was she had to finish the scene. On screen, the race was filled with speed and excitement. But behind the cameras stood a director battling a high fever, an actress only hours away from emergency surgery, and a polluted river channel full of contaminated water where no one should ever have been standing. Number 9. They had only 20 minutes to choreograph a classic. The ending of Grease looks like perfectly controlled chaos. A carnival, amusement rides, everyone dancing their hearts out, while Danny and Sandy finally end up together. To create the film's grand finale, producer Alan Carr rented an entire traveling carnival and set it up on the grounds of John Marshall High School. The Ferris wheel, the game booths, and the dazzling lights were all real, giving the cast the feeling that they were actually taking part in a real fair. But the biggest surprise came from the closing song itself. Originally, the cast had spent weeks rehearsing the musical numbers that were already in the script. Then, at the last minute, the original finale from the stage musical was dropped and replaced with You're the One That I Want, a brand new song written specifically to better match Olivia Newton-John's version of Sandy. The last-minute change threw nearly every plan into chaos. Choreographer Pat Birch was left with only about 20 minutes to put together all the choreography for the final sequence. That's right, just 20 minutes to create a performance that, decades later, is still considered one of the most iconic moments in movie musical history. The cast did not even hear the song until they arrived on set. As a result, the excited expressions, the cheers, and the explosive energy you see on screen were, for the most part, completely genuine reactions. Meanwhile, Eddie Deason, who played the lovable nerd Eugene, had to ride one of the carnival attractions over and over again, through take after take. When filming finally wrapped, Deason climbed off feeling completely dizzy, staggered over to a nearby patch of grass, and threw up almost immediately. That's Hollywood glamour for you. So when you watch the final scene, and it feels like everyone is running on pure adrenaline and sheer belief, the truth is, they pretty much were. Number 8. Age is just a number. The students at Rydell High do not exactly look like high school teenagers. They look more like people who have already been working full-time and filed their taxes a few times, but almost no one really cared. Hollywood in the late 1970s was not concerned with casting actors who matched their characters' ages. They wanted performers who could sing, dance, hit their marks, and handle a demanding shooting schedule without worrying about curfews. So Grease did not cast teenagers. It cast experienced professionals who could still fit into a varsity jacket. The most obvious example was Stockard Channing. In the film, Rizzo is about 17 years old. In real life, Channing was already 33 when filming began. You might think that age difference would make the performance less convincing, but the opposite turned out to be true. Her life experience, sharp expressions, and unmistakable confidence gave Rizzo a depth that very few teenage actresses at the time could have delivered. Jamie Donnelly, who played Jan, was not much younger either. She was already 30 when she joined the film, and gray hairs had begun appearing throughout her hair. To maintain the look of a high school student, she had to dye her hair constantly. Even then, the gray roots grew back so quickly that the makeup department had to color them in every single day before the cameras started rolling. Even the two leading stars were much older than their characters. John Travolta was only 23, making him one of the youngest members of the cast. Meanwhile, Olivia Newton-John was already 29 and worried that audiences would never believe she was a high school student. That is why she requested a screen test to see how she looked on camera before officially accepting the role of Sandy. The fascinating part is that audiences barely cared about those numbers. Once the music started and the dancing began, everyone was willing to believe these were the students of Rydell High. Perhaps Grease was never meant to be a realistic portrait of high school life. Instead, it feels like a nostalgic memory of youth, seen through the eyes of adults, where emotions have always mattered far more than actual age. Number 7. 5 Days, No Air. A Slaughterhouse. Do you remember the big dance competition in the movie? Bright lights, everyone dancing their hearts out on the floor. It looks like the time of their lives, but in reality, it was a nightmare. The sequence was filmed inside the gymnasium at Huntington Park High School during the peak of a California summer. The problem was that the building had no air conditioning whatsoever. Once the production crew brought in rows of powerful studio lights, the temperature inside quickly climbed to nearly 117 degrees Fahrenheit. In that enclosed space, dozens of performers had to wear heavy suits, multi-layered dresses, thick makeup, and hair covered in hairspray for hours at a time. Simply standing still was enough to make everyone sweat. Dancing, take after take, made it even worse. Things became even more miserable because there was a meat processing plant near the filming location. Olivia Newton-John later recalled that whenever the crew opened the doors, hoping for a little fresh air, the smell from the plant would drift inside, making the set almost unbearable. In the end, they had to choose between suffocating heat or the overpowering odor from outside. Those conditions lasted for far more than a few hours. The dance competition alone took about 5 days to film. After working for days under those brutal conditions, several cast members became severely dehydrated from the heat. Michael Tucci, who played Sonny, was reportedly hospitalized for treatment. During the few breaks they had, many of the actors simply lay down on the gym floor to recover before getting back up for another take. So the next time you watch Danny and Cha-Cha dancing across the floor, take a closer look at the sweat glistening on their faces. That was not a Hollywood special effect. It was the real sweat of people trying to survive in temperatures approaching 117 degrees Fahrenheit. They were not just dancing to win a trophy. They were dancing in the hope of breathing a little fresh air as soon as the cameras stopped rolling. Number 6. The jackets that almost never happened. The Pink Ladies' jackets have become one of the most recognizable symbols in pop culture. Bright, bold, and impossible to miss, their pink satin finish inspired countless girls in 1978 to dream of starting a girl gang of their own, but they almost looked completely different. Costume designer Albert Wolski originally chose a much more realistic approach. The costumes featured softer colors, more modest designs, and closely reflected the way American high school students actually dressed during the 1950s. Director Randall Kleiser, however, did not want the film to feel overly realistic. He wanted audiences to look at the screen and immediately feel the vibrant energy of a movie musical, where every frame was colorful, memorable, and larger than life. That decision forced Albert Wolski to redesign nearly the entire wardrobe. He embraced brighter colors, more form-fitting designs, and most importantly, created the now iconic pink satin jackets exclusively for the Pink Ladies. The goal was no longer to recreate 1950s fashion with complete accuracy, but to create an unforgettable visual identity that audiences would remember for decades. The results exceeded every expectation. The pink jackets quickly became a symbol of confidence, individuality, and the friendship shared by the girls in the film. After Grease was released, countless fans bought or made their own versions to wear at costume parties, special events, and festivals. More than 45 years later, it is still almost impossible to attend a costume party without spotting someone wearing a pink satin pink ladies jacket with a name embroidered across the front. Number 5. The Angel They Really Wanted. Frankie Avalon's entrance as the teen angel, descending a staircase from heaven to sing Beauty School Dropout, is one of the most unforgettable moments in Grease. But here's the fascinating part. He was not the first choice for the role. Elvis Presley was originally considered to play the teen angel. Just imagine it. Elvis, the very icon whose style Danny Zuko is constantly trying to imitate, appearing as an actual angel giving advice to a beauty school student. Audiences would have gone absolutely wild. But Elvis turned the role down. By 1977, his health had already begun to decline. Whether he felt the part was too small, or his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, simply was not interested, Elvis ultimately said no. He passed away on the 16th of August, 1977, and then something remarkably eerie happened. According to director Randall Kleiser, news of Elvis's death reached the cast and crew on the very day they were filming the pajama party scene, where Rizzo sings the lyric, "Elvis, Elvis, let me be. Keep that pelvis far from me," Kleiser later recalled. It was really strange. The news was everywhere, so everyone knew about it. The entire cast and crew got chills. After Elvis declined the role, the producers turned to Frankie Avalon, the clean-cut teen idol who had become famous through the beach party movies of the 1960s. And honestly, it turned out to be the perfect choice. Avalon fit Grease's sweet, dreamy atmosphere beautifully. Even so, every now and then, it is hard not to wonder what that unforgettable scene might have looked like if Elvis had appeared in his signature white shirt with those oversized collars. Number 4. The Coca-Cola cover-up. Have you ever noticed that some of the posters and signs in the diner scenes look strangely blurred? That is not a picture quality issue. It is the result of a behind-the-scenes battle between two soft drink giants. When the production team finished dressing the diner set, they placed Coca-Cola signs and branded items throughout the location to make it feel authentic. Everything seemed fine until producer Alan Carr reviewed the footage. The problem was that he had already signed a promotional agreement with Pepsi. That meant allowing Coca-Cola to appear so prominently on screen could create serious commercial problems. Reshooting every diner scene was almost impossible because it would have required far too much time and money. Instead, the filmmakers had to find ways to hide or remove the Coca-Cola logos that had already been captured on film. In the late 1970s, digital editing did not exist, so every change had to be done directly on the film using painstaking optical effects. As a result, several signs ended up looking noticeably blurred, and sharp-eyed viewers can still spot those odd-looking moments today. Despite all their efforts, the crew could not fix every detail. One bright red Coca-Cola cooler was simply too prominent to remove, so it remained in the finished film. Years later, director Randall Kleiser admitted that everyone on the production simply hoped their promotional partners would not be too upset about it. For the 40th anniversary edition, some of those images were digitally altered, replacing certain Coca-Cola branding with Pepsi logos. Even so, traces of that famous brand rivalry can still be found. It is a fascinating reminder that sometimes the battles happening behind the scenes are every bit as dramatic as the movie itself. Number 3. Danny Zuko was originally meant to die. Grease does not begin like a typical movie. There is no live-action opening, no sweeping shots introducing the setting. Instead, it starts with a colorful animated sequence, accompanied by an upbeat disco theme song. It is a surprisingly unusual choice for a movie musical set in the 1950s. In fact, it almost feels like it belongs to an entirely different film. Before the 1978 version was made, the film rights to Grease were once owned by animator Ralph Bakshi. He was famous for his edgy, controversial animated films aimed at adults, a world away from the family-friendly cartoons most audiences were used to. In Bakshi's vision, Grease was not a lighthearted musical romance. It was a dark story exploring the harsh realities of youth. The idea that shocked the creators of the original stage musical the most was his ending. According to co-writer Jim Jacobs, Bakshi revealed that Danny Zuko would not get a happy ending. Instead, the main character would take his own life. The proposal was so shocking that Jacobs and Warren Casey could hardly believe what they had just heard. Fortunately for fans, Bakshi's version was never made. When the adaptation rights expired in 1976, producer Alan Carr purchased them with his own money and quickly began developing a completely new version. Under his guidance and the work of the production team, Grease became the bright, funny, crowd-pleasing movie musical that audiences have loved for decades. Even so, Ralph Bakshi never abandoned his distinctive style. A few years later, he released the animated film Hey Good Lookin', which was set in 1950s America and featured teenage street gangs, along with a lead character who reminded many viewers of Danny Zuko. That has left plenty of fans wondering ever since. If Bakshi had actually completed his own version of Grease, would we have ended up with another masterpiece or one of the biggest shocks in movie history? Number 2. It was his car, his dream, but the song belonged to someone else. Greased Lightning is so closely associated with Danny Zuko that it is almost impossible to separate the two. The swagger, the dance moves, the unforgettable line, systematic, hydromatic. It is hard to imagine anyone else leading that performance. But here is the surprising part. Originally, it was never Danny's song. In the original Broadway musical, Greased Lightning belonged to Kenickie. The car was his. Restoring it was his dream. And the song was written to celebrate his character. It was also the biggest musical showcase for Jeff Conaway, who played Kenickie on Broadway before reprising the role in the film. What makes the story even more remarkable is that Jeff Conaway had previously played Danny Zuko on the Broadway stage before the movie was made. But when Grease came to the big screen, the lead role went to John Travolta, who was rapidly becoming one of Hollywood's hottest new stars. Soon afterward, Travolta expressed his desire to perform Greased Lightning as well, believing it would become one of the film's most memorable moments. Director Randall Kleiser spoke with Jeff Conaway before making the final decision. Although Jeff was unhappy with the change at first, he eventually agreed to give up the song. That meant he not only lost the role of Danny Zuko, but also surrendered Kenickie's biggest musical number. And then, even his character's signature song was handed to someone else. But the bad luck did not end there. Not even close. While filming the Greased Lightning sequence, Jeff Conaway was accidentally dropped by other cast members during the choreography, leaving him with a serious back injury. Doctors prescribed pain medication to help him recover. That injury ultimately led to an addiction to prescription painkillers, a struggle that followed him for the rest of his life. On screen, John Travolta turned Greased Lightning into one of the most iconic musical performances in movie history. But behind the scenes, Jeff Conaway paid a price that no one could have imagined. Number 1. The costume that needed a seamstress standing by. Sandy's entrance in those tight black high-waisted pants is one of the most iconic movie transformations of all time. In less than 30 seconds, the sweet Australian transfer student suddenly becomes the coolest person in the room. But what audiences never knew was this. Olivia Newton-John was practically sewn into that outfit, and even a simple trip to the restroom could bring the entire production to a halt. The pants were not made specifically for the movie. They were an authentic vintage garment. Costume designer Albert Wolski found an original pair of pants from the 1950s to preserve the film's authentic look. Because they were a genuine vintage item, the production had only one pair. There was no backup and no replacement if anything went wrong. During Olivia's very first fitting, the zipper broke. Rather than replacing it and risking damage to the delicate vintage fabric, the costume department came up with an unusual solution. Before filming each day, they literally sewed Olivia into the pants. Once she was dressed, she could barely take them off by herself. Whenever she needed a break or had to use the restroom, the wardrobe team carefully removed the stitching and then sewed her back into the outfit again before filming resumed. Olivia later joked that, because she did not want to inconvenience the crew, she almost stopped eating and drinking while filming the movie's final scenes. Even so, Olivia performed every dance move in You're the One That I Want with incredible energy. Audiences saw only a confident, glamorous Sandy, but behind the camera was an actress constantly worried about protecting a costume that was already more than 20 years old. One loose stitch could have brought the entire shoot to a standstill. After filming Wrapped, Olivia Newton-John kept the outfit as a treasured keepsake. In 2019, she auctioned both the leather jacket and the black pants to raise money for her Cancer Wellness Center in Australia. Together, the outfit sold for $405,700, more than double the pre-sale estimate from Julian's auctions. The leather jacket alone sold for $243,200. The pants, still carrying the same broken zipper from the film, sold for $162,500 to Sarah Blakely, the founder of Spanx. Blakely called Olivia the OG of black leggings, and today, those famous pants are framed and proudly displayed at Spanx headquarters. And those were 12 weird facts you may not have known about Greece. Which fact surprised you the most? Leave a comment below and let us know. And don't forget to subscribe for more behind-the-scenes videos about the movies and TV shows that shaped our childhood.